Hello YouTubers! Today, brakes again. Now, what we have here is obviously brakes, 01 avensis. Now, the pad is completely worn, so it's metal on metal, but we don't have a seized caliper. So basically we just have wear, you could say. Now, to be fair, the disc, the disc is gone anyway, even if it wasn't metal on metal. This disc is just rusty, because all the discs rust from the inside out. So, this disc is gone anyway, so he wouldn't have saved himself anything. Basically, just obviously driving like you normally do, and then obviously heard a noise, came in, this is what the problem is. So, what we're going to do is we're going to whip off the caliper, the discs, replace them, sorted. Now, 7mm Allen key at the back, 2 of them. Now, like I say, these pins, as you can see, all this kind of grease and crap that's got crudted up on them. It's always best to give them a clean with the wire brush. So we'll obviously do that before we put them back on. That's what the actual caliper slides on, so. Same again with that one. Now, see if we can take this off. Bend this clip out of the way. It's just an anti-rattle clip. This then should come off. But it isn't. There we go. It's off now. Now, when a caliper normally seizes, this is the part that gives problems. This either gets cut and it all goes rusty inside there, but like I said, we haven't got that problem on this vehicle. This car. Now, the back pad, as you can see now, I did that pushing back the piston, so don't worry about that. You can see the big lines that are in it. This one, at the front, obviously has no pad on at all. Rusty. Now, I'm going to show you how to push back the caliper if you don't put a screwdriver in like I do on some of my other videos. This is just another way of doing it. You just get a G-clamp, just a normal G-clamp, nothing special. And literally make sure it's square and screw it in. And this shouldn't be that difficult to do. It should go in relatively easy. You want to make sure you get the G-clamp square though, because you know, if you're pushing this at an angle, it's going to tilt, it's not going to go back easy. As you can see, that is going back nice and easy. No pressure, which is exactly what you want. So this is just another way of pushing back your piston. Now, screw it back out. Sorted. Put it there out of the way. Now what we've got to do is take off the carrier next, which is this thing, which is 17 or 19mm bolts behind it. 17. I'm going to use an air gun because I can, it's easier. Loosen both of them first. Can't get the air gun in that one. I can't get the air gun in the top one, so I'm just going to use a long ratchet. Oh. It's tight. So now I've loosened it, I can use my little air gun. Now I know not everyone has air guns and stuff, but it's just easier for me to use them. Now what we also need to do with this carrier, now it's off, is get the wire brush and clean inside both ends where the actual pads meet. So it just makes them a bit easier to slip up and down. So we'll do that before we put it back on. But now, basically, this disc will come off. And as you can see, just very rusted, just old and rusty really. Not particularly worn to be fair. There's no big lips on it, it's just old. So what I'm going to do is get the new parts, put them back on. Well, that brakes again. This is day 2 for me, obviously a few seconds for you. Right, we have obviously the disc, I've checked all the discs, make sure the discs and the pads are right, line them all up together. I haven't really showed this before, but I'm going to show it now. As you can see, there's all kind of like grease and stuff on the brake, and I've always just cleaned it off without really showing. But basically all you need to do is you get brake cleaner. Now it is important you get brake cleaner, because what happens is, as you can see, there's fluid on it, but it evaporates. I don't know if the camera showed it, but that's evaporating. So there's no sign of it left over. You use WD force or something like that, it won't evaporate and you're going to have problems. So you literally squirt it on, wipe it off, and as you can see, it's all evaporating. Turn it round and do other side. And do the other side. As you can see, it just evaporates. What we need to do next is obviously put the carrier back on. As you can see, I've wire brushed it where the actual brake sits into. So we're just going to bang this on. Now this is what I've always been saying about basically when you're doing something, check it so nothing can happen. As you can see, this brake line here, which is very important, has been rubbing on something. I'm not sure yet what it's been rubbing on, but it's been rubbing on something and it's ready to blow. Now obviously if that goes as you're driving, you're in serious trouble. So what we're going to do is, it's bolted onto the caliper, wherever the caliper is, just right there in the middle of the caliper. So on this one we can actually put the caliper all back together and then replace this last. They don't have one, so I'm gonna have to wait another day, but basically yeah, so we need to replace that. It's always good to check all these things. What I'm going to do now is obviously put the carrier on, 217 mils. Just line it up, screw them up. Yeah. We've got about 9 cheeses and about fucking 80 fucking kiwis. Shut up. Huh? I said shut up. Now, give them a good squeeze. It's on. Next thing we do is get the new pads. Put on copper grease just on the corners and the edges, both sides. Just like that. This one in. Make sure it goes in, which it does. And now you can put some on the face. Saves you getting all gunked up. Now this one has to go inside the caliper first. This is the spring, so this one you gunk it all up, all together. Get it all in. Obviously make sure you don't get it on that bit. So what I need to do now I've got it all gunked up is literally push this in through the clips, basically, as you can see there. Now, make sure the wire isn't twisted, but obviously we have to change that wire. So you have to change this wire, so it's not really the end of the world yet. Now, you just slide this in, and at the same time, just push these pins just outside the lip, and it just, there we go. Now, pins are in. Now these two pins here, as you can see from the, obviously when I showed you the first time, they're all crap and stuff here. So I've cleaned them all with the wire brush wheel. As you see that, nice and shiny. What we do need to do is we need to put some grease on these, but not copper grease. This is the grease I like to use. It's grease you use for your wheel bearings. And wheel bearings, well, not so much wheel bearings, but more so CV joints and stuff like that. Slide it in there. Same on this. Both of them all nicely gunked up. Bit of lube, can't beat it. $7mm Allen key. Just got one on a ratchet. Now, all that good squeeze. Two little caps back on. There's only one cap on this, the other one's missing, so not to worry. Now obviously we're going to change this brake line tomorrow, so we have to bleed it, but I can't do anything yet because obviously I haven't got it. But what is important now is to remember to check your brake fluid after you've done this, and also to pump your pedal a few times just to close all the gaps, because you can have no pedal for the first 2 or 3 pumps. See you tomorrow. Day 3. Can you believe it? Day 3. Finally got my brake line. And as you can see, this one is ready to pop. Not good. Now, 3 things we need to do. Obviously, we need to check that the one we've got is right. So that just literally means kind of putting it up to see if it matches. And it does. All the clips in the right place where they should be. The bend is correct because there is a left and a right to these connections. You have the clip in the middle and then you have the connection at the end. Now, first thing we need to do is with a little plastic pliers is grip it and squeeze it to stop it from completely leaking everywhere, and just start basically disconnecting. I personally prefer to use spanners for all this sort of stuff because you can over tighten these very easy and snap them. So 12mm on here. That's the connection in the middle. 12mm. Now I'm going to take off the actual one on the caliper, which is a 14mm. That just screws out nice and easy, as you can see. Now another thing you have to remember is, because it's a banjo bolt, you have 2 washers either side of it, but they're not ordinary washers, they're copper washers. So just be sure you don't lose them, unless you've got copper washers. Alright, the next thing to do, which unfortunately is always the hardest, is up here, you have a little clip, and you have a 10mm where it actually screws into the top. There's a little 10mm connection on the top. They can break, they're annoying, they're really tight. So what I suggest you do is give a good old rub with a wire brush, spray a bit of WD-40 in and leave it there for a few minutes. Now when you're taking these connections off, you don't really want to use a normal spanner, because what happens is they just round, and obviously you can't get that end in. You can get special spanners with a slight little cut in, and you can hook it over the line and you can use it. But what I'm using is these special spanners. They basically bend round the clip and you get the hole, as you can see, it completely encloses on the bolts. Still not a definite you'll take it off, but this gives you the best chance. got it off. So that's good. Now, we have to be careful of it now is because obviously we're going to get a constant drip out of this pipe. So, what we really need to do is get a new pipe ready and be quick to screw this in to try and save as much fluid as we can, and then we can put our clamp on this end. So that's going to take, before I do that, there's a little we'll take that clip off first. I'm going to take this clamp off. If you had to, it would be a bit better, but clamp it on here and do this as quick as I can now without dropping that. Now, pull it out of the way. There's only one way these can go in. They do have flat ends, so you can only put these in one way. So you might have to just twist it a little bit until you find the correct place for it. And it's best then to put your clip back. Just makes it easier. Little tap. Bit thin. You pin in. Now, again, you have to be careful putting this back. That's not lined up, that's not going in. Kind of push it down a little bit. Once you get it started, it's not too bad. That's now started. It's going down. But it should be going down nice and easy. I'm not obviously forcing this because you destroy the threads. You have to replace a lot more. Now, so I'm not going to tighten it properly with this because again, you can't really. So I'm going to get me nifty special spanner again and actually tighten it with that. Now, that's a good thing to do is once you've done this is obviously give it a good clean. Get the brake cleaners like I showed you on the disc and just clean around here because you want to make sure obviously there's nothing leaking. If it's leaking in this connection, you're obviously not going to have brakes. Now all we need to do is basically make sure we're okay. So we're going to just hand tight the little bolt that goes in here. To get that in line. Screw it in. Just to hold it for us for the minute. Now, what we need to do is we need to take off this bolt and make sure we get copper washers. As you can see, they're actually together. And this is the banjo bolt, the one with the hole in the middle, as you can see, and there's a hole in the end. That's how the fluid gets into the caliper. So we need to make sure it's around there. Line it up properly first. And literally screw it in. Now I'm just going to screw it in and make sure this isn't hitting anything. So I'm just going to turn it by hand, and as we can see, we're not rubbing against anything. If you set this at different angles, as you can see, it can rub. So I'm going to leave it there where it can't rub anything. $14mm spanner again, and again be careful with this because like I said there's nothing in the middle, it'll snap very easy, but obviously you need it tight enough to not to leak. So should be good. we're going to bleed the brakes, because obviously you have to bleed the brakes now. So now I'm going to show you how to bleed brakes if you are with your friend. Now obviously we've just put a new brake line on, so if you put a new brake line on or a new caliper or something like that, this is why you need to bleed your brakes. So the first thing we're going to do is release the bleed nipple here, which is on top of the caliper. Looks like an 8mm bolt. So with an 8mm, now you have to be careful of these because sometimes these can actually break and they're rusty, so you have to make sure it's definitely going to turn. Now we're okay, we turned. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to leave it to gravity bleed. As you can see, there's fluid coming out, but that's just what's in the caliper. There's going to be air in our new line, so if you give this a second, you'll start seeing a few bubbles come out. Once it's kind of permanently dripping, that's when I'm going to actually bleed them. This could take a few minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera back on as soon as this basically is a constant drip. Now we can just see air coming out now. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but basically air is just coming out. So I wanted to show you. It's still coming out. Once that air basically stops, I'm going to lock it back up and kind of bleed it properly then. This will just help us. Now that's basically stopped bubbling out air. We're about 95% done, maybe 99% done. So what I'm going to do now is there's someone going to be sitting in the car, and what he has to do first is pump the brakes with the engine off until they go nice and hard. Then he has to keep pressure down on them. I open the bleed nipple, the fluid squirts out, I close the bleed nipple and he starts pumping again. So this is when you need good communication between yourselves. You maybe do it 2 or 3 times and you should be sorted. The brake's hard, pump. Okay, brakes are hard, he's kept the pressure down. I'm going to release this. As you can see, a bit of air came out and then fluid. So I've tightened it back up. He's going to pump again. He's going to let me know when they've gone hard. Okay, they've gone hard. Do this one more time. Now, pure fluid coming out. So he's going to pump it one more time and the pedal should go hard after 3 or 4 pumps. That was pure fluid coming out that time. It was nice and clear. Right. So we're sorted. That's basically it. It's as simple as that. That's how you bleed brakes. Now that's when you have 2 people. Right, so obviously we've done everything now. We've done the brakes, the pads and discs, and obviously a new line, and we've just bled it. So we know we're fine. Sorted. It's as simple as that really, nothing really to it. Just make sure obviously nothing's rubber, make sure everything's nice and tight. So yeah, simple really, just got to bang the wheel back on, job done. So as you can see, that's why we replaced it. Hope that's coming across okay. Hope this helps. Thumbs up the video and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.